Hey, what's happening? Before we jump into the show, I wanted to see if you had any music on a hard drive. You have a band, you have a project, and you want to self-release your own music. Well, there's an easy way to do it. You can go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate and go get your music up on all the streamers. You keep 100% of your royalties, and you can get 30% off by using this code. It's a great, easy way to get your music up on the streamers and share it with your fans, your friends, your family, your mom, your dog, everybody. Everyone wants to hear it. But go to distrokid.com/VIP/hyphenate, HYPHENATE, and send me the link. I want to hear it too. Send your mom the link. Send your dog the link. They all want to hear it too. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to Hyphenate. It's okay, I'm done. That's all the energy I had.
It's California Gold.
Hyphenate halftime, Monday, February 17th. Mr. Farley, you just turned the big 5-0. Happy birthday.
Big 5-0.
Officially publicly.
On the downslope.
Yeah.
I had a couple students go like, wow, you made it halfway. I'm like, wow, you think I'm going to be 100? All right, I'll take it.
Right.
I'll take 100. I don't know. This place seems okay.
I don't know what's going
weird.
on.
I want to see
the next 50 years.
See this first 50 has been crazy from 1975 to 2025 has been there's a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah. 2075. Yeah. Can't be that bad.
I'm watching like I was born right when the National Department of Education was created, and I turned 50 right when it's getting taken away.
Yeah,
it's good. It's 50 years. It's a good run.
Interesting experiment. This democracy.
Yeah, this whole thing. Let's see what happens without it.
I showed Shan the Simpsons meme, like the worst blank so far. It's like, like this is the worst thing that's ever happened. I was like, so far. Yeah. It can always get worse. I had to explain to her, I was like, this happened, I think, when like Metallica put out a new record. It's like, this is the worst Metallica record so far. And they've put out subsequently worse and worse records every release.
Oh my God. They tried one. There was one, which was the one that they did with the therapist? Saint Anger?
Yes.
Is that the one? Okay. Yeah. So that one was an obvious bummer.
Bing,
and then,
bing.
Yeah. Worst snare. Is that where you got? There's like
snares like a haircut.
Snares like a cowbell,
like a Saint Anger haircut. Yes.
Yeah, a cowbell, but even worse cowbell. A cowbell with no room mic or whatever. Just
bing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bing.
There's that one, and then
there was another. There was another one after that was poor.
Death Magnetic.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
That was the one that beat us for the Grammy. The only time I've ever been nominated for a Grammy in my life for best packaging. Yeah, for best packaging of a CD, best CD packaging, I think, for the 2008 release.
You got beat out by Metallica.
Nouns on Sub Pop, and the Metallica released
what was that?
Death Magnetic. Yeah, for Nouns, because we did like I don't know what it is, like 26-page full color booklet.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's amazing.
And and then Metallica did a die cut booklet where every page is like you go deeper and deeper into the grave. Like the outside is like a what do you call it? A coffin? With like magnetic poles, like the magnet. You're being pulled in magnetically into the coffin, and every page as you go deeper and deeper into it is a die cut into that.
That's pretty metal.
Yeah, can't argue with them on that one. That was pretty creative and cost a lot of money to die cut all those pages and put it together. So
dang.
So they
how does that work with? Does every band that thinks that they have like a Grammy potential? Do you just submit?
I have no idea. We had nothing to do with it. I mean, I'm assuming somebody at Sub Pop did through a Hail Mary or something. Like, I don't know. I mean, Sub Pop is not so secretly like 51% owned by Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Music. So it's basically, it's a major label and all those kind of ways. So I'm sure there's somebody who just combs through the releases or has a short list of stuff they want to submit,
like,
of whatever they put out. Yeah. Probably threw it in a bucket for voting on and somehow we got voted through, but we were on tour.
Top 4? There's like four.
Yeah,
people?
Probably. Yeah. I don't remember who that Metallica one,
That's
which
pretty
seemed
cool
like a
to
no
get beat by
brainer.
Metallica, though.
Yeah,
I
we
think
saw
that's
the
good.
list we were up against. We're like, yeah, we're not going to win any of this stuff. And we were on tour for the first time in Australia, and we had a show, that night, like in a warehouse in I forget where, but somewhere, because we were on a tour. We did this like it was called Laneway Festival, where it was like a bunch of bands, almost kind of like a traveling Lollapalooza thing through Australia, and then did a run with Jay Reatard, who was also playing the fest. We did some like club shows with him in Australia, and then club shows in New Zealand with him as well. So, and then after that, we did our own like warehouse shows, and that was that same. It was like the tour was over. We could have gone home earlier.
Yeah.
To try to like, fly whatever, 25 hours back in time to make it for the Grammys, but it was and cancel shows and stuff. But it was like, I think we're good. We know we're not going to win.
Did you put anybody there in your place? Like, did you send your
Brian
mom
Roden,
or something? Or?
Brian Rodinger went, yeah, who we were co-nominees with, who really, is the graphic designer.
It was his art, right? Yeah.
But I think we heavily, I think we would, there wasn't a term for it then, but I think we would be called the art director or we'd be, creative conception or creative directors. I think Dean and I really had a hand in all of that stuff but we worked obviously really closely with Brian Rodinger to come up with it. He was executing the designs, but it was like the three of us in a room for like 2 weeks. Oh no, on that one, that was when we were on tour with Liars. So every night, like Brian was selling merch for Liars. And so every night when we'd get back to the weird, like, AAA or what do you call them? Best Westerns Motel or whatever, 6, Motel 6, we would like stay up till like 2 a.m, like designing the thing. That's kind of how it like kept growing and growing. And we're like, oh, what if we had pictures of this? We should put pictures of that. What if we did this? And we designed the cover, like letters from like truck stop, like drop shadow letters. Oh, and we were just like getting stuff at truck stops on the road. And then if you like peel the letters off, those ones that have like the drop shadowy kind of things, with like lots of like sparkles, like those kind of stickers, traditional truck stop things. If you pull those off, they kind of leave that form of the letter, which we used for the No Age lettering.
That's why the letters look like that.
Yeah. Okay. It was a weird custom font sort of thing made out of like the reverse of, anyway, but we spent a lot of time doing it that way. So that's how that one worked. And I don't think Brian would have made that. He would have made that packaging without us being there. We definitely wouldn't have made it without him. So I think it was a good,
you guys had a partnership for all of those first, how many records?
We did everything except Weirdo Rippers. We did the first 5 EPs that were vinyl releases, and then the CD compilation Weirdo Rippers for Fat Cat. We just needed, it wasn't really initially planned as being a release, but we were going to do it, and that was going to be CD only, was the idea. And then, I had the idea, like, what if we painted the front of The Smell, kind of like Hotel, like, was that the Doors record, where like, it's like the front of the thing, like Hotel Morrison, which is downtown also. It's kind of a funny thing. Like, what if we just painted The Smell? Like, what do we have? What are our options we have available? Anyway, I feel like there's a whole other episode. We can get into
that's good. I like it.
Get into artwork. And Amanda Anderson, who was my now wife's best friend, was a painter who would do large scale portraits. Mm-hmm. She did the portrait for one of the 5 EPs where we're shaking our face.
Oh yeah.
And there's the funny thing of like, somebody took that photo and then she painted it, and then someone took the photo of the painting. So it says photo by, but doesn't credit the original photographer who took the original photo of us shaking our faces that inspired the portrait.
Do I know the photographer who shot the photo of you guys shaking your faces?
No. He was this guy. I'd have to look it up. He was this guy from like the Midwest who had this kind of like photojournalism kind of like bend. And he was really cool. We met him I feel like he was from like, Indianapolis, or what's the Sucking on Chili Dogs, where there's the little Indy 500. There's a big college town in Indianapolis just south of Chicago, and John Mellencamp lives there.
I don't know.
Okay,
I know Sucking on Chili Dogs.
Yeah. I always think of this, but anyway, he lived there, I think, and he saw us on tour, and then he came to LA. He shot some photos of us, and it was a kind of a weird thing where we didn't understand that, like, people could, the idea of photographers like just having photos of a band on the rise is like valuable to them. Yeah. We just thought people wanted to shoot free photos of us. I mean, he did shoot free photos of us, but ultimately there was a thought that if those photos ever get used, then that's when he can make money from those. Mm-hmm. So he did like a photo shoot of us like for a whole night. Just like came over to our house and just like shot photos, but we were also like weirded out by it kind of too. Like, what is going on? Why is this guy just shooting photos of us?
Yeah.
Like, we're not that important. But we used the photos for stuff because we had a bunch of things coming out.
That's awesome.
But I don't know if we paid him anything. You know how it goes. It's the kind of thing you're like, cool, thanks, bro. I'm glad we did it. You did us a favor. We'll do you a favor. Everyone's doing favors.
It's a weird one when you're starting out. I remember shooting photos because I was assisting for a photographer in Portland who was a commercial photographer. So we shot a lot of like stuff for magazines, but also we shot like interiors for Nike stores, and he also shot tabletops of shoes, and he kind of did everything. And so I had been shooting for a while with him, and at the same time was shooting some music stuff, but was I still don't know if I would do it any different, but I definitely I've never thought of the future of anything.
Yeah, it's always
and the people that I know that are still shooting or doing well are like, they were always like, well, in 5 years, this is going to be a good thing for me or whatever. And I was like, what do you mean 5 years?
What's 5 years from now?
I'm just taking photos to take photos. And then, so I'd shot a couple bands, and then, what was that band? IQU. You remember them?
Q and Not You? No,
not Q and Not You.
They were an LA band?
IQU. No, I think they were from Olympia.
Oh.
Anyway, I had shot them and shot some live stuff, and then a friend was a friend of theirs, and I sent them. How did I send photos back then? Did I have an email address? This was a long time ago. I must have had an email address. This was like 1997. And
you probably just sent negatives or something. Yeah,
I guess maybe. I definitely had sent negatives and slides around, and then never got them back so many times. that there's just negatives and slides. And I remember him coming back like, "Hey, we want to use this for something," and I was like, "Cool, but yeah, like $300." And he was like, that's like a lot of money, or, whatever it was." And I was like, oh, this isn't something you make money off for a long time. Like if you're doing music photography, you're going to make and he wasn't wrong now that I look back, because I had been used to seeing commercial photography rates, and, it's like, oh yeah, as a photographer should charge this much for whatever. And then when you find out like, oh no, all these people that like skate photographers, and like they're making like $50 maybe,
if that,
if they're lucky. And that's if it's for like a big company, and they're making $100. I remember someone telling me like, oh yeah, you make $75 every time you get a photo in like a half page in a magazine, like snowboard magazine. And I was like, wow, that's awesome. So if you get like 5 photos, that's like, whatever, $200 a month. That's amazing.
That's going to happen. Oh yeah. If I just go shoot 5,000 photos every week, then I should be good. Yeah. It's just one of those,
like,
should get run. It's so confusing. Cause even at the time, like, I don't think the band, like us as on the other side of it as a band, we don't know what's going on. Like people are just taking photos, and then someone, then there'll be something, totally. But there's also pre-social media, before digital sort of media, and like all these other things too, where like it's essentially, crashed the value of any of that stuff. It's like, it's just expected to be done free, like a music video or anything. Like, people used to get paid to make music videos.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely I've been paid nominal fees to make music videos, but it was usually like $3,000 all in.
Yeah.
And that's like crew, that's renting equipment, that's editing, that's maybe $5,000 or something for a smaller one. But then, I was PA on huge music videos back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And, it definitely had $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 budgets for sure.
It's crazy. Yeah. No, things just changed so much. But yeah, the idea of shooting photos, it's always confusing. Like, do you remember we just like shot photos with that guy? Like, yeah, whatever happened to those? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then he'll probably looking at, going through his hard drive, like, why did I shoot that band? Like, there's supposed to be something. What happened to them? I don't know. Why do I have these? Like, I don't know.
There's so much of the hustle. I mean, I think even with the band, you're like, well, if we play the show and there's the right person there and they see us and or you play with another band and that band gets big and they take you on tour or whatever. There's just always that thing. And I think photography was like the hustler wins always, because
always be working.
Like the person with the best photos didn't necessarily, like, you also have to, like, the right people have to see them. You also have to be able to, like, when someone does want to hire you, you have to be personable. you have to show
charming.
Up on time. You have to do all of those. Yeah, and you have to do all those other,
not be hungover.
That other part that
not bring your friend for no reason.
Oh my God, and all those things that you don't know. I mean, this is bringing up so many weird memories. So I remember when our friend PJ was he was in town, and he was going to be in a Larry Clark movie.
Okay.
And he
was this the What's Up Rockers?
No, different. It was before that. It was the one that was like a bunch of little movies. I don't know if it even came out. I think maybe it did. Ken Park.
Oh, okay.
Let's say it was Ken Park. But he was just staying at our house for like the week or whatever. He was in town, and he woke up one morning and he's like, "You know how to cut hair?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "You know how to cut hair?" And I'm like, "I mean, I could use scissors." And he's like, "Okay, because I need like, so I told them I could bring a hairstylist with me." And
it could have been a whole other career.
You could like cut
fast
hair.
Forward 25 years later, and here you are.
Well, and I was like, well, I'm not going to pass up a chance to be on a Larry Clark set. Yeah, of course.
That's just as a photographer, just wanting to see him at work. Or
yeah, totally. As a photographer, I mean, he was already legendary before kids and stuff. He was already like a legendary photographer for all of his crazy heroin photography, like him and his friends, and just all kind of changing a lot of the rules about what art photography was, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so so I just went and sat in the trailer, and I remember the people coming up and going, "So you're his hairstylist?" I'm like, I mean, what do you need his hair to look like? Like, just like this photo. And I was like, all right. And so I get the photo, and I kind of did an okay job. And then they were like, I think they were like, "PJ, you cut your mustache." He's like, oh no. Like, he had a mustache from the previous scenes or whatever. So then I could also be making this up. I got to go back, but I remember something about like no matter what with the hair, they had to make him a fake mustache.
God, that's amazing.
And then I was like, well, I don't know how to make a mustache. They're like, "You're a hairstylist." I'm like,
but
I'm kind of a photographer. And they're like, "Oh, okay, we'll figure it out." They figured it out.
Do they still pay you $500?
I think I did it for free. Probably. I probably just went along. I don't know. I don't remember. Maybe $100. I mean, back then the PA fee was like $75 a day.
Oh my God.
So I probably wasn't expecting any more than that.
That's hilarious.
I get a lot of. I was going through the list of jobs, like weird jobs. I mean, I know we've talked about it on here, like the jewelry box.
Oh yeah, a million.
All those weird LA jobs, which which is really what made LA great when you first moved here, is that you really could, like, if you got in with a group of people and you said, "Guys, I'm looking for work," within a week you would have some weird job, like really weird, like some job that someone had like hustled to, like, we're driving videos back and forth from studios, or I was a courier for photographers for a while.
Oh yeah.
And I would look at the prints and I'd be like, "Oh my God, it's like who are the photographers?" It would just be some like big photographer that I knew, and I'm holding the print, and it's like, just masking taped. I'm like, I got to look at this print. But I'm like, I'm probably not going to have this job for that long. So I'm going to like, so I'd sit in the car and like undo the masking tape really nicely and pull it out. And I'd see these like really beautiful test prints of whatever fashion photographer or something at the time. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I have these. Like I just saw a show of this guy's work. Yeah, it's great.
It's amazing. But but that dichotomy of like, here are these people getting paid all the money in the world to shoot these things. And then here are, us making no money, just doing random, internship jobs for $100 a day. But how do I do that? Like, they seem to make a lot of money, and I don't know what they're doing is that different than whatever it is I'm doing.
Yeah.
But there's just the levels of gatekeeping and profitability, and who's to say that what they're, you know what I mean? Like if you swap jobs with that guy, shooting that.
Well, and I mean, one of the guys, do you know Julius Schulman?
No.
Might know his photography. He shot all of those modern homes. He kind of made modern homes really popular just with his photography in all the homes in Silver Lake and then ended up all around the world, shooting architectural photography. But he lived in, I want to say he lived in, I don't know, Laurel Canyon or something. But a couple times I would, the company that I was doing the work for, he was a client. So I would go to his house and wait like in his kitchen and his wife was also, I feel like his wife was his business manager or something. And so we chat a little bit and I met him a couple times. And then I actually ended up meeting him later in Silver Lake because he was at this community meeting just randomly. And he was he was definitely not cranky, but he was like an old guy that was like, oh. And I was shooting photos because Michelle was doing Silver Lake, field, that
landscape stuff,
field there.
Oh yeah.
And it was for that. And he was there and I'm like, oh my God, it's Julia Schulman. And I was shooting photos of the people there for her work. And he came over. He's like, why are you shooting all this boring stuff? You should be shooting those kids playing in the park. That's the interesting part. And I was like, you're not wrong. He was right. He didn't say it cranky. He was like, that's the really interesting part. All these old people are boring. You don't need to be shooting. Who's going to care about these photos? You should be shooting them playing. And I'm like, totally. If I wasn't getting paid, 100%. Thank you, Mr. Schulman.
So fuck off, old man. Who are you? What do you know?
Listen here,
what have you ever done in life? I'm being paid to shoot old people.
Why don't you go shoot your own photos?
$50 is $50. These kids don't have any money.
Yeah,
I'm tired.
So funny.
Tired of shooting for free.
Yeah, But that's another great thing about LA. You meet all those people. But what I was going to say too, the one thing about the courier job that I'll always remember is that I see this person on the this person's name, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to drop it off at their house, and I pull up at like a crummy apartment, and go, oh right,
life's getting real here.
Yeah, this is like, or not crummy, but just like you think that, oh my God, I'm probably going to go to the Hollywood Hills somewhere, and we're like, nope, I'm in like East Hollywood at a little 2-bedroom,
modest,
and this person is like grinding right now, like trying to and it's like I've already looked at the photos, so they're like fancy, they're like super nice, high end fashion, Calvin Klein, like whatever they are.
Yeah.
And then you're dropping them off at a guy's apartment, with his 2 dogs and this. Yeah. So
how was Jules Schulman's house? I imagine if you shoot beautiful houses, I mean, goddamn.
It was like
you kind of walk the walk.
Yeah. And even at that point, I mean, this was 25 years ago, and he was at that point, I mean, he's gone now, but he was probably in his 70s at that point. So he had already made a good career. Yeah, he had a beautiful modern home overlooking some beautiful space. Yeah, wow. Beautiful place.
As you'd expect. Yeah. As soon as I Google him, it's like the case study house with like it's all glass overhanging. Overhanging off a cliff.
It was like the woman in the living room, and you're looking through the glass windows. And all that kind of stuff. It's just unreal.
So documented, modern architecture, like you said. Oh yeah, here's like the James Bond house, or all the villain houses.
Yeah,
these things are crazy.
Yeah, he was amazing and a super nice guy.
That's good.
Very nice, very like easy. I talked to him a couple times from here to there. I would see him at events here and there, and he always just walked around and it's cool.
That's amazing. What are we doing today? So we had Seth Lorinczi. I felt bad. I feel like I'm always mispronouncing his name. Lorinczi.
I don't know. There's a C and a Z in there somewhere.
Yeah.
He was
said
awesome.
He said it before we started, and then I need to start recording people pronouncing their own name as part of the record, I think, just so I can go back and refer to it and say it exactly.
He said it at the end too.
So
he was like, if you can spell it, you're halfway there. 3/4 of the way there. It was awesome.
Yeah,
I loved it.
What a cool guy. Yeah, he played bass in Circus Lupus. I don't know if we got into that a little bit. He was, it was definitely a heady conversation.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of people starting. I just love music as like a starting point, like for something else. Like even if it doesn't you don't end up being a musician, but I feel like even for me, music was the starting for my photography because that is, I had a camera and I was into going to shows, and then a couple people needed photos. I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm one of the only people with a camera that actually goes to the shows. So I guess I'm the guy for a little bit, Yeah. And then that ends up being like a springboard to a bunch of other stuff. And I think writers and like so many people start even writing about music first and then realize like, oh wait, I'm good at this writing thing. End up being, but he didn't talk that much about, I know he mentioned he wrote about food.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's how he got into it. But what was the story there?
I don't know. I think he said he moved to San Francisco and started writing and kind of started cooking and then started writing about food.
Oh, right. And then he said he was gonna be a cook or wanted to be, and he was like, "Oh, I couldn't be in the kitchen. That was the worst place ever." Like he didn't have the temperament to work in the kitchen, which I agree. Like I worked in a restaurant for a year, maybe a little less than a year, and it was it's crazy. I don't know.
I've never wanted to work at a restaurant. Like, that idea of like being like, well, you could always be a waiter or you could always be, or a busboy or something. I was like, I would be so bummed out if I knew, like, my first job was at Disneyland, like serving the churros and Cokes and shit and popcorn. And it just, the smell of grease and like garbage disposals or whatever, trash, like that whole thing, the hospitality side of that world. If I had to like do that every day as a young adult, just already like knew like that would just make going to restaurants. It would like ruin going to restaurants. And I was like, that's all I enjoy eating food. I knew quickly, like whatever work you do for work, once it becomes work, it's no longer fun. So you just have to be prepared to like always hate or just be traumatized by that setting. I'm like, I don't want to do that to restaurants.
Yeah, I don't think I'm that hospitable either. I think the serving side, I would go, I would have maybe a couple days in me before I would be like, yeah, that guy, he creeps me out, and he snapped at me once already, like to come over. I'm like, no, someone
go punch this guy in the face.
Tip his drink over or something. I don't know what. Put some. Make the soda go in the chicken. I don't know what to do, but like that. Yeah. I don't have the right personality for that at all. I worked in the kitchen for a little bit. I mostly washed dishes, and then I was what do you call it? Like I did salads for a while. I worked the salads.
Okay. Yeah.
In the back for a while, which was fun. I think it was fun as a group of people because the people were all crazy. I think there were definitely people doing. It was all college kids where I was. So but there were definitely a couple people that were starting to get into some more uppers,
cocaine and meth.
And I could see why like meth and cocaine and other stimulants would be readily used in that kitchen. If you want to work for
16 hours making hamburgers and
oh my God. And it's so crazy. You're looking at like 14 things come up at the same time and you're like trying to figure out how to cook them all. And I had to take over the line once because someone called in sick last minute and I still remember it to this day.
It's traumatizing. PTSD.
I remember how proud I was of myself for actually doing it and being like, I'll never do that again. That does not.
My God.
My temperament is not that. Yeah, it's funny.
Or there's something almost like militaristic too, in this weird way of like, you have to like, it's like the pecking order and the so the chef is the boss.
Yes,
everybody works for the chef. Yeah. We, Dean and I got to go, I won't say backstage, but go into the kitchen a few times with, Brooks Headley, he was the pastry chef at a fancy restaurant in New York. And we shot some stuff with them, or he just invited us when we were in New York, like, oh, come back to the thing and look at the thing. And it's just like, this is a crazy world. It's like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory or something. You're just like, you guys do insane things. You do it all day. And it's like, it's very precise. Everyone's very serious. It feels like you're going to slip because everything's just covered in like hot grease on the floor. You know what I mean? Just whatever. Just the whole place is just so high pressure. And I think especially in that New York culture, I had another friend, Carla, who like went to culinary school and was working there, and her arms were just like covered in burns from grease and cuts and things. You're just like, you just wreck yourself trying to be in that like food world in New York. Imagine LA, there's places that are like that. And I don't know, just the whole thing. It just feels like this is way too much stress. This is just a job, guys. You just get paid, and you could just smoke weed and go drive t-shirts around for wardrobe assistant or something too.
Totally.
Like, you know what I mean?
And they're not getting paid like, they're getting paid the least amount possible, and for twice as much work as possible, and they're all like stressed out, and
all those dumb jobs. I'd rather just be relaxed, or at least be able to make jokes. I worked in like movie theaters and like video rental things. Like those were, it was great.
Yeah, amoeba.
Yeah. It was very low stress kind of things. Like, well, the worst case thing to happen, like somebody bought all the Dave Chappelle DVDs. Like, oh, okay, I'll go get some more out of the box. Yeah, that becomes just repetitive. Like you're just it felt like you fill the trenches, every day, and then people come and like dig them back out, and then you got to go put more shit on the thing. Make sure you have enough shit on the floor. Right, in the on the stuff, like, okay, is all full? Yep. All right, then they come in and everyone empties it out, and like, okay, go fix it all.
Fill in the holes again.
Fill in the hole.
We're gonna dig them out tomorrow.
Yeah, it becomes repetitive, but the rest of the time you're just shooting shit with your friends and dicking around. Yeah. It's trying to hide, so not make it look like you're working, but also make sure no one can see what you're doing.
Yeah, some people just need that high stress.
Yeah,
high intensity. Like that whole, like, I need everybody to feel really uncomfortable around me. Let's go. I'm going to find a job where everyone feels uncomfortable when I look at them.
Well, I think there's different levels of abuse and neglect you receive from your father or your father person in your life. The level of approval that you need and what you're willing to go through that as a young man, I can speak to specifically, is different for each person.
Yeah, you see that in sports a lot.
Yeah, the level of approval and love that you're expecting to receive by doing Herculean tasks. And, it's like, is that worth it?
And then how mad at yourself you are when you do all those tasks and you still don't feel that anybody approves.
No, nobody. Yeah. It's all in your mind.
The harder one. Yeah.
It's in your head. No one gives a shit. No one's ever proud of you.
I know.
You have to be proud of yourself. It's the friends you make along the way. That's the journey.
I've had to get through a lot of that as a soccer parent. Why am I yelling?
That's right. Yeah.
Like, I'm yelling at myself playing for my dad.
Oh yeah.
That kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And even even those things I was thinking this last time, because we have both of our kids are in soccer and the parents are crazy. I've been one of them in the past, and realizing that, like, what they really should have every time the season starts, they should have a surprise parents game where the parents play each other. They all have to show up. And they all have to, and then the kids get to say whatever they want. And they get to say the meanest, most horrible things to their parents as their parents try to kick a soccer ball and win. And they get to say, like, stop being lazy. And they get to be like say the most crazy things, so that at least the parents know when they're out of breath and they can't run and they're trying to kick a soccer ball and they miss the goal and whatever, and then they hear their kids go, "You suck." Then they can have that in their head. when they go to sit down to watch the kids and go like, oh, right, they're out there trying their hardest. I don't think that's too much. The things that I've heard some of the parents say to the kids in front of everyone is crazy. Like really crazy stuff. And I'm like, I don't think that they've heard this from anybody other than their dad, 20 years before. Right. Sure. And if they actually heard it come out of their kid's mouth, even as a joke, if it was said jokingly, they'd be like, oh, right, this doesn't feel good at all. I should probably shut my mouth.
And I mean, you could really just roll that out ad nauseum to any other aspect in your life as well. Totally. You know what I mean? That like the amount of like question before you say anything to your kids, like what percentage of what I'm about to say is coming from me or is just coming through me from my parents, and then which came through them, this genetic sort of like wind tunnel of shit that you say to your children. Like, do I really think this, or is this just am I just regurgitating what I've been told? Yeah. Do I have the way I was told to do this?
Yeah. Am I holding this much importance on how good my child is at a certain skill? Am I holding that much importance as myself as a human?
Yeah.
I shouldn't, but I do. It's crazy, sports,
man. We've avoided most of this stuff. We're just kind of now getting into the AYSO level of stuff, and I feel it's more or less. I don't know. For us, it's been pretty relaxed. Maybe we got
until you get a couple years in.
Maybe Maybe I haven't seen it all. There was one dad.
That's
okay. There was one dad who I just could tell. I could just and like. There was so much, you know what I mean? I feel like I could like write a book, but it was the kind of feeling of like, oh, like whether or not he knows what he's doing, like this is just bad. But it was really just one. There was the one guy. It was like, this is just not right. The one thing I was going to say was, with sports and things is we've been cleaning out closets here. We kind of got into that part of the year, like a little bit of spring cleaning. And it definitely is that feel like I was going through stuff. And there's that question like, oh, it's overwhelming. The kids have so much stuff in their closets. What are we going to do with all this stuff? Why do they have all this stuff? They do this. And I went through it on my own and kind of was looking through like, okay, I know what all this is. And what I realized is like, this isn't their stuff. Like, this is my stuff. This is like the parent stuff. Again, it's like, I feel like this was definitely a metaphor for something. Once as I was looking at it, I was like, all the stuff I'm holding in there is like the reason it's still taking up all this space in this closet. It's not because the kids want it. It's because we as parents don't want to let go of it. Like, because this reminds us of when they were that age and that fun thing, or that staying up all night, going insane, singing these Sesame Street songs. And this is that thing we looked at. This is that book. This is that blanket. This is that toy. This is that thing I had. They had to have this thing at the amusement park or whatever. You went to Disneyland and they needed this $65 like Slurpee cup. You're like, okay, so you buy it, and then 2 hours later when they just want to throw it in the trash, you're like, no, I paid too much for this. We got to keep this thing. Yeah. And then eventually it ends up in the closet, and 2 years later, 3 years later, you're looking at it and you're just like, this is crushing. This is crushing to go through this. Right. Yeah. Put it back in the closet. I don't want to think about it. I can't throw it away. But it's such more of a parent lift than the kid trip at all. Like, the kids would probably just look at all that stuff and go, I don't know, just throw it all if everything in the closet just disappeared and they never saw it again, maybe 2 things would be brought up in like the next 10 years. Like, what if happened to that one thing? You're like, I don't know. Like, all right, whatever.
Yeah. The full series of Piggy and Gerald books.
Oh yeah. We have all this.
Yeah. Every single one. Yeah.
There's a lot of that. Yeah. So we're with a 5-year-old being the youngest, we're still not out of the woods. We can definitely recycle, and we pass a lot of things on, but it was just so funny because what a level of stress it felt like to like even tackle it, like even open the closet and start to look at it and start to pull through stuff out of it. And it's like, once you get into it, it's like, this isn't hard. The questions I need to answer about each one of these things isn't as hard as it feels. It's really just being honest with myself and go like, do I need this anymore? Not does the kid need this, or the kid going to play with this? When's he going to play with this? Or it was because I think it was a weird thing. It was a morning. There's a morning of reality that they've grown out of. They're not those little people anymore, and so you can have that little like sense of like grief for like, oh, they were this young and they're not like that anymore. Okay, I can feel that emotion and I can grieve that. But then there was the other thing I was seeing is like there's also the grief for the person that I thought they were going to be when I bought them this book of art, or when I bought them this cool thing that like, and that's the one that almost hurts more as a parent, because it's not just that like, oh, they grew out of this. It's like, no, they never opened this. They never played with this. Like I was youthful and creative and hopeful as a parent and like, oh, I'm going to buy them this Frida Kahlo book because it's really important that they understand, the female perspective of Latin American art, in this place of, or whatever, whatever reason I bought the thing. I felt good about buying the thing. I gave it to them. They never looked at it, never cared about it as much as I wanted them to, or whatever I thought this was, whatever this meant. And so it gets put in the thing. And then now 5 years later, I have to pull it out and go, they never even looked at this. It doesn't even, what did this, did I do a bad job as a parent? Like what happened to this thing, this person I thought I was trying to make them, or I was trying to expose them to these things and they weren't interested in that. And that's the harder step of grief of letting go of not the dream, because again, your kids are your kids, but those little moments of like I guess that's the other flip side of like a sports parent, like now the art parent, like, oh, but all the books, this like, the Mark Twain, short stories, like we never read those. We never did this. We never did that. Mm-hmm. It's like, they don't care. But I care because I didn't do it. It's markings of my own failure or my own thing of like, and so not that I would beat up on them, but I'm almost beating up on myself, or that feel it's too hard to look at this closet filled with stuff that they did grow out of and stuff that they never even looked at. Those are the two kind of like, I was like, ooh, this hurts both ways. But once I saw it like that and kind of understood it all, I'm like, well, then who cares? I have to be able to, I love who they are now. I don't want them to be anyone different. I wouldn't want them to be any different than they are. So go ahead and that's going to go in the Goodwill box. That's going to get passed on to someone else who's going to find that and it'll be the perfect thing for their kids.
Yeah. Mine is like, we have a drum set.
Oh, I
always wanted a drum set. You know, right? I was I played drums and I always had like a practice pad. I had like the little practice pad and so like the whole time it's like, God, if I could only have a drum set. And I never got to have a drum set. And then, so when we had a house that was big enough that had like a little corner in the living room, I'm like, we're getting a drum set. Yep. And I found this.
The kids never asked for a drum set. The kids never even talked about a drum set. Yeah.
And of course I bought it for the kids.
Yes.
And it was like $300. It was like a Premiere, like a cool little.
Oh, like Premiere. A nice real drum, not a kid's drum set, like a real.
No, like a real one. Wow. But it was a guy that was selling it in the Valley, and it was a really nice Premiere drum set. And I'm like, Premiere, it's like a good brand when I was a kid. And so got this cool little drum set and set it up and got some cymbals and all this stuff. And they both know how to play drums a little bit, and it doesn't get touched. It now just sits. I sit and play it every once in a while to myself. And then I'm like, it's kind of boring to play drums by yourself. But we have like the little orange amp. We have the little guitar set up and the little tiny Fender bass, like 20-watt bass amp. Yeah. Like little combo and a mini what is it? A mini Fender something. I don't know. Little bass. Just the bass. It's like a 3/4 scale.
Yeah.
And that I traded our friend Jen for a piece of art. And so he got this little setup, and I'm like, you guys could just start a band. You guys should start a band, family band. Come on, let's go. And then never happens. But I do catch our daughter playing. She's like learning songs on her guitar up in her room. And so I have found out that as much as I pushed everything, and even photo was the same thing, like photography. And it's like, you can always use my camera. You can always, it's fine. And then they never do it when I'm pushing them. And then all of a sudden, like our daughter made her own photo, like Instagram photo only site the other day and was putting up photos. And it's like, I guess I just have to shut up. Stop asking.
Don't say it.
They'll figure it out. Like you put all this stuff in front of them and then go, you know what? Honestly, I don't care if you even use it. It's just whatever.
It's so not true.
I'm just like, I'm so not cool. Into it. I mean, if you want to, it's fine. But, and if you want to ask any question, she'll be like, she'll be talking about her photo class. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, do you know what I did for a living for like 25 years? She's like, I just don't even understand what she's even talking about. And I'm like, are you talking about f-stops? I'm like, you can always just ask. I don't know why you.
Maybe that's her way of asking.
I won't out her grades, but
sure, but they're not great.
I was like, so that's one that probably you should come ask me about. But she's fine now. She's fine. This was like 6 months ago.
That's amazing.
But it was funny, and it was funny. I was showing her. Because I think Michelle was even like, show Lila your website. Like, have you ever seen Dad's website? And she's like, I don't think so.
No.
what is it? And I'm like, it's my name.
It's hard to find. Yeah. Dad.com. Okay.
It's long ago that you could just get a website that was your name.com.
Yeah. Or your name at Gmail. Like, how did you get that? Like, well, I'm that old.
Yeah.
That generation
I
of
was there
Gmail
right
1.0. Yeah.
I thought I should probably get my name just in case. But, and I showed her and she goes, these are good.
Huh.
And I was like, well, I hope so. I worked really hard for a lot of years to try to get photos up here that were not bad.
I certainly wasn't going to put up the bad ones. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, well, okay.
Wait till you see page 2.
You learned the first rule of being a good photographer: editing. Don't show the bad ones. Yeah, only show the good ones. Everyone will think you're a genius.
All these photos paid for 7 years of daycare. So yeah, I hope they're good enough for that, because daycare was much more expensive than anything that we do
wild.
Now.
That's
really
wild.
Funny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we tried to do something. Oh, I took the kids to the New Beverly, the old, like, it's like the Quentin Tarantino repertory house theater thing. And they show movies. It's only film. They only show 35 millimeter or 16 millimeter stuff, and they were showing old, like, Looney Tunes cartoons and like old, they have a Saturday morning matinee thing. I was like, that'd be fun for the kids, but I think it was just too much for Shannon and I, just even driving into Hollywood, on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock and just parking. And it was just a lot. And then getting in there, and the kids don't care. They really didn't care. But there was something to us that was, they're like, oh yeah, remember? We drove by. She's like, I used to live there when I first moved to, LA. I lived in that house and over here. And then I was like, oh, I lived over there. Is that place still around? Remember they had the best, it was just a big whiff of memories and ghosts. And, it's a different, I think her and I were going through a lot, and the kids were just like, can we get candy? Can we get, like, why are these seats so small? Why is this place so weird? Yeah. Why is there this guy who's talking through the whole thing? And, like, why is he wearing sweatpants? How did he get nachos? I think he brought his nachos. They don't have this. He brought his own nachos.
He brought his own. It is funny. I do have to say, though, that it is being at the later end of kids being like growing up, that those things do remember them, even though they, like, shelve them into a weird spot in their brain and they don't care at the moment, but they do remember all that stuff. Because we'll drive past stuff sometimes in LA and the kids will go, I remember when we went to that place for so-and-so's birthday party. I was like, what?
You remember this?
I gotta go let my dog.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
I'll vamp. But it was definitely interesting going to the movie theater, because it used to just be like a cheap, like, $2 movie theater. What did the New Beverly was like $2 to get in? You just see old movies, and it was like they always had a double bill, and it was always like just feel like there was like homeless people kind of sleeping in there. And they'd have midnight movies all the time, and it was really run down and kind of crappy. I mean, it's a lot nicer than it was now. Yeah. And they have Quentin Tarantino merchandise and things. It's fun.
Didn't he take over the Vista too?
He did.
Okay.
And I think they show 70 millimeter there. They can show 35 and 70, but I don't think they'll show digital projections. I think they'll only do film. Okay. And there's a little coffee shop next to it too. They call it Pam's Coffee. It's like a Pam Grier themed coffee shop next door to it.
Got it.
Yeah. We haven't been there yet since he bought it I think that was pandemic. Yeah. Post-pandemic. But what's funny, that one is that's where they shot they shot a scene from True Romance, one of his early scripts that was directed by Tony Scott. Ridley Scott's brother, but have you seen True Romance with Christian Slater? And so they go to the Sonny Chiba, like, trilogy. It's like they're showing Sonny Chiba Street Fighter movies there. Yeah. And he tells a story in the, like, commentary on the extras or whatever, the DVD of that. They're like, so, like, his friends called him that night. They're like, whoa, you got to go to the Vista. They're, like, showing all your favorite movies. And it was really, it was just because they put the marquee up because that was the scene that he wrote into the movie. That's where they would go. They would go see all these movies at that place there.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's amazing. I think he has a history with that place. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of we definitely saw, I used to live right around the corner from that place for a couple of years.
Oh yeah.
And we used to go down there for movies all the time.
Well, that KCET, like the old public TV station, got bought out by Church of Scientology. And now it's a big Scientology center.
Oh, geez, really?
Yeah. It's like a huge like TV.
Scientology
studio.
is still a thing. It's weird to me that it's still a thing. I feel like it was at its height when I moved there, like in 2000. Like that I even knew a couple people that started. They were like, I feel like this is a good way to get into Hollywood is to just do the Scientology thing.
Steve Air. Steve Air.
There's a couple of them. Yeah. A couple of people that I think all of them got out.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah.
You hope. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I have no idea. I mean, I remember seeing friends like pick up the book or the pamphlets or like, I don't know, these guys might be onto something. You're like, there's no fucking way they're on anything. As soon as anything asks you for money, you know, if it's not just donation based, because I grew up being Catholic and the pass the hat was pretty loose. You didn't really have to put anything in there.
No.
Then, you know, but anything where you had to pay money to go to it is like, that's called a business.
Yeah.
It's not really religion. I remember even with like AA stuff and like, you know, sobriety and going to meetings, I was like, this is definitely cult. This is weird. And then it was the thing of like, you know, because it passed the hat. And I was like, wait, I don't have any money.
They'd pass the hat at meetings?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Just for operating costs or whatever.
Okay.
Or then there's H&I, you know, for donating for books, you know, that buy the books, keep the lights on, buy the coffee.
Yeah. Yeah. They have to have a little space and everything.
Yeah, but it was never. But again, like I didn't put money in, and like no one ever asked me to leave. Or if I did, or I would put money in, no one was congratulating me. I wasn't getting moved up to the next level because I put $20 in the can.
You didn't get to
coffee can,
level 32 of AA.
Nobody was promoting me to anything, nor were they kicking me out or asking me to leave if I didn't put money in. So I was like,
I'm trying to get to the highest level of all of them.
Yeah. So that was, you know, I think right there, you know, okay, well, it's not really that kind of cult. Maybe, you know, one of the favorite AA things was somebody's like, oh, they're brainwashing you. And like an old timer, you know, spoke out of the well, maybe your brain needs washing. You sit down and shut up and maybe you're in the right place, buddy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's pretty good.
It's not a wrong assessment, I think. I think there is a lot of, especially seeing now, there's a lot of brains that need washing, I think, maybe.
Oh, God.
At least a good soak. It's a good soak.
Yeah. My other favorite term I learned in early sobriety was terminally unique. You know, as a young person, you're going to die being so unique. Nobody's ever like you. No one's ever gone through what you're going through. Well, guess what? If you keep thinking that way, the last thought you're going to have while you cling on to your uniqueness, you're going to fucking go down. Yeah. You're going to be dead. So was it worth it to you? How unique do you need to be?
I do think that is a weird, I don't know if it's an American thing, but I do think it is definitely the part of, I don't think it's a uniquely American thing, but I do think it's a part of an American thing of that uniqueness of like, you have to be your own thing and the group and is bad and all of those things that it really is a hard thing when that is,
well, it's very LA
told to you or given to you as a young person. I mean, even through skateboarding or punk rock or anything of this like unique, like you got to be your own thing, and it can really drive people crazy.
Well, it's almost like it's like the opposite of tall poppy syndrome, you know, where otherwise like in places like, you know, like this is like everybody's a fucking tall poppy. Everyone's a look at me kind of person. You're just like, oh God, no. This is bad. You don't have to be so unique.
And you always feel like, oh no, I need to be telling the truth all the time, and I need to be like really railing against this and this, and like, why are all these people like getting things and money and jobs and there's actually a game we're supposed to be kind of playing here a little bit, and like you probably should also watch out, be looking out for yourself and your best interest a little bit. Enough to survive to the next day instead of being so unique that you unique yourself out of everything. Yeah.
It's a fine balance that I think only people, you know, at a young age are tasked with knowing these things, tasked the burden of knowing how to be, how unique to be and how much to fit in. I think we're fortunate with age that
or how to market
we blend in like a smear. It's like
blend like a smear.
No one's paying attention to us. No one's looking at us. That's another one of those things where you're like, no one's ever thinking about you. If you walk around thinking everyone's thinking about you, you know what people are thinking about? Themselves. Because you know what you're thinking about is yourself. Exactly. The chances are no one's thinking about you.
Yeah.
You know?
The fact that you think everyone's thinking about you is because you're thinking about yourself so much.
Yes.
You can't imagine that everybody else is not also thinking about you all the time.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. Amazing. Well,
So
yeah.
funny.
Yeah, we didn't get into as many Seth stories, but yeah, I mean, he was incredible. Like really, you know, I want to subscribe to the Substack and read more, but he was really cool, really insightful. I feel like I was almost like going to therapy or something at times, but I was never really a big psychedelic person. So I feel like I was kind of like, I don't know, like, oh geez, Rick, I don't know. I don't know if these mushrooms are really for me.
Me too.
Really go there.
No, me neither.
But I liked hearing everything he was bringing back, like dispatches from the other side of consciousness. I was like, cool, it sounds good.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think too that I thought it was really interesting that he went through that therapy with his wife and that it like broke open all these doors and they ended up staying together and all that. I think that I think we're in such a weird time right now where you have all of that stuff and then you have this whole section of people trying to go back to like the 1930s, which is some weird and like all joking aside, I think it is some weird thing of like America having this problem with its history of people going like, it's supposed to be getting better, right? And then everyone's like, no, it's getting better. It's getting better. And there's this thing of like, what's good? Wait, but I don't feel like it is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look back to these weird times where we were told that it was maybe. And we're just going to do that because this whole being here now is too difficult. We have that part, but then we also have this part that it is like, finally they opened up stuff for psychedelic research to be legal, like actually researching marijuana to see if it's like actually good for certain medicines and, you know, whatever, like all those things that people have been fighting for so long to actually just like, can we please just research this to see if this could be beneficial for like PTSD and all these other things that we have problems with. And these two things are happening at the same time. And I think that people are going crazy. I think it's driving everybody
in conclusion,
nuts.
We've all lost our minds.
Yeah, we've all lost our minds. And we're just watching our computers going, huh? Wait, is that right? Hey, honey, am I reading this? Is this? Can you read this?
Is this the Onion? Is this real news?
We really are in the Onion land, right? Or we really are in the land that people kind of thought, a lot of the science fiction writers kind of thought we would be in like 20 years ago mentally. They're like, well, if this keeps going, the writing is kind of on the wall, guys. Like this
all leads to one place.
This all the money going up into the stratosphere and not staying down with people who actually need it. I don't feel like that seems like a great, I don't see any great outcomes. There's definitely no great outcomes. I feel like the best thing that I've heard is when someone just wrote like, okay, so if we were studying orangutans and you saw that there was one orangutan that was hoarding all the food and everything and was not letting anybody and was getting all the other orangutans to try to keep all the other orangutans from taking any of the food or getting anything, and then they were just really doling out like one seed at a time to everybody while they had all the food, we would go, what is wrong? This species is not, this is
they're not long
okay,
for this earth.
So I don't know.
This is not a path
happening.
To survival. Yeah.
But somehow we love to think that those people are geniuses for whatever reason.
Definitely feel like the emperor's new clothes are being seen, hopefully in ways that are just too satirical to even fathom. But you hope that something gets through the fog of desperate ignorance and everything else that, you know, I think inflicts America. You know, unfortunately, is everybody seeing this? Are we all watching the same thing?
Yeah, unfortunately,
probably
it's
not.
Gonna like come down to some weird, like super anarcho hackers that everybody's gonna cheer on, and then those guys are gonna go, well, but we also got into the federal government space, and now we control it.
Aha!
It's gonna go. Wah, wah, wah.
Well, yeah. I mean, the power vacuum of post whatever this thing's going to be is a different kind of hellscape that you can't even imagine. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole other kind of like post idea of what happens next. That so far,
I don't even know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hoard, Randy. Hoard everything.
Hoarding, right?
Hoard cash.
I'm just cleaning out the closets, man. I'm getting rid of stuff. We're living this minimal existence.
Yeah. Sell it on eBay before eBay only sells Trump merchandise.
Well, eBay partners with Kanye West, and they all just sell the same merchandise. All right. On that one, let's let's go bravely into this new world, into the darkness.
Listen to some 80s and 90s hardcore from DC.
Yeah.
Get your mind washed. Get your brain washed by Ian MacKaye.
You could use it. Yeah. And subscribe to Seth's Substack.
Yes.
In the notes. And go buy his book. All right. I will see everybody.
I don't read the book.
It's yeah. We all should read the book. What was I going to say? I don't know who's coming on next. I got a couple things cooking. Got some good stuff. Working on some graphic designers. I think that idea could be fun. So we'll see. We will find out who's on the Thursday show on Thursday.
All right. I will too. I always love to be surprised.
Surprises
on my way to
coming.
Yes.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, have a good one. Right. Welcome to your first week of being 50. Make sure.
Thanks.
I think it's prunes, Metamucil, and Motrin.
Yep.
What's the other one? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah. Double up. I get to double up my Advil and Motrin.
There you go.
Now, which is amazing. I did get an AARP card in the mail, which is, I'm like, isn't this? You
didn't even sign up.
No.
They just send it. They just send it to you.
Yeah, they know
on the day.
Yeah. Elon sent it to me and said, although I don't deserve this. No,
welcome to the club.
Yeah, welcome to the club.
Oh, I knew AARP. I knew I was fucked when AARP was like advertising like people skateboarding, like guys like skating in a pool, like like
you still got it.
Like wait a second, like AARP is for old people, not people who grew up in the 80s and skateboarded and ripped pools. Oh no. Yes, I see what has happened here. Yeah, my brother was helping my mom lives at a 55 and over place.
Yeah.
And my brother was helping her there. And he's like, oh man, he's like, I don't want to get kicked out. If I stay too long, they're going to know. And then he's like, wait, like he just turned 55. He's like, oh wait, I could live here.
Oh my God, it's so crazy. I was thinking
like, just get a place next door. Like, there we go. It's time to retire. You're 55 and older now.
I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I'm only 5 years away from like going into a retirement community if I want to.
Beautiful. Go for it.
I mean, let's be honest. I live in a retirement community. I'm fine.
A small mountain community.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, but you only have 25 more years to get your Social Security. So you're good. You can actually get retirement
that's not
benefits.
Going to be around. Let's not go crazy. I don't think I've even barely been paying into that anyway. That's fine.
All right. Well, don't say that out loud.
I just hope my pension.
Oh
well, no, I don't. I guess I am, but just being freelance forever, like you either.
No, self-employment tax. You have to pay it. That's the thing. So all the dumb shit that I've done my whole life. Yeah, that's the one thing I was like, why do I have to pay this thing? And I remember the guy telling me like, believe me, you want to pay into this thing. He's like, you have to. It's legal. You have to.
Oh well, then I have an account. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, even if you think you haven't, it's been federally mandated, at least up until now. But mostly I think that was just to pay off the generation that was taking money out then. He was an older guy. He's like, no, you need to pay into that so I can take I'm going to take that money. Well, I'm going to take all that money. Yeah. It's like, who knows if people are going to keep paying it by the time we're old enough.
They're going to take all the money and then they're going to vote in the people to crash the system. Good job.
Look, it's not there. I don't know what happened.
Oh, that's weird.
All right.
Strange.
Keeping it positive.
Yeah.
We should have a
Let's go robots. 2020.
No negative March. Just see if we could just have a March or just want to say good things. It could be a challenge.
I still have. I realized last time I teased my AI idea, but and then I never got to it. But maybe next week.
Okay, keep kicking it down the road. Yeah. Make sure.
I don't want to make this podcast go another 30 minutes.
All right. Next week, tune in for Arron's AI adventures.
It's a good one.
Okay, there we go.